Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with Trae.
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I get to welcome you to a magnificent Monday. And y'all know, if I could start the week with theater, y'all know it's going to be a great week. And I'm so excited for my guests who are in the Black Media Matter studios with me today. I got Prentiss Mouton and I got Oluchi Nwaokorie. Oh, I got it. There we go. I got both of them in the building. They play Riley and Angela in Parade, which is on stage at Fifth Avenue Theater right now. And I got to see this show, y'all, last week. So I'm excited because I get to talk to them all about their roles, of course, their journeys in acting, but particularly in this show, how these characters shape up for them. And I'm going to definitely tell y'all to go see it because it's like a sign of the times we kind of need to experience a little bit right now. So I'm glad that both of them are with me. But of course, I'm glad you're with me too. Y'all know this is the top of the show. This is where you help us grow. Go ahead and share this show with folks who you feel could benefit from the daily dose of dopeness we work to give you here on The Day with Trae. And if you can't watch our TV show, don't trip. We got you covered. You can always also listen to us as you find your favorite podcast wherever you do. Just search Converge Media Network in The Day with Trae. Y'all will find us right there on that platform. Well, I'm really excited that I have two guests joining me today. So, of course, I got to get right into it. Up next, we got Prentiss Mouton talking all about his role as Riley in Parade. Hi, Prentiss.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You know what? I'm really good. And I'm so glad that you had time in your busy schedule to join me today.
Of course.
Well, okay. So I'm going to talk about your beginnings in acting. You know, when I think of folks who find themselves on stages where big, U.S., tours, there's a lot of work that gets into getting you at this level and in this role. Tell us a bit about those beginnings.
I think I did my first play in second grade. It was The Princess and the Pea, and I was the prince. And I had a lot of lines, and I think my teachers kind of realized, oh, he can, first of all, a second grader can memorize all this stuff. But, they were like, oh, he can actually really act. So, that's kind of where it all started. Through grade school, I, of course, did a lot of choirs and things like that, but I really started as a freshman in high school. My high school, Ridgeway High School in Memphis, Tennessee, they did musicals every year. And my freshman year, I did my first musical. It was Anything Goes. Small part, but I made the most out of it, and my teachers really took to me and really poured into me and helped me to really grow as an actor. And so I went on to college to actually study opera. So I'm a classically trained tenor. And I was pursuing an opera career for a while, but I just could not shake that musical theater bug. So between then, I did some cruise ships, and I moved to New York in 2020, got an agent, started the circuit. Of course, the pandemic happened, so things slowed down a bit. But once we started to get back into the groove of things, I got back into it, and my first major contract, my Broadway debut, was with Parade in 2023.
Wow, this is exciting. Yeah. What I love about the story is the journey, and people talk about this term, starving artist, right? And it's like, yeah, because you have to sacrifice some things in order to really pursue acting. We know it's a bunch of auditions. People will tell you it's a bunch of no's before you get to a yes. But this is a beautiful story to hear that you said, no, I got to get back to being on stage in this way when it comes to musical theater. And, so your role in this show probably has progressed a little bit too. Tell us a bit about that, because how did you start in 2023 to get to where you are now in 2025?
So in the Broadway production, I was an offstage swing. I understudied Jim Conley, Riley, which is the role I play now, Newt Lee, and under specific circumstances, Angela in the show. And that was a wild process, having to learn 4 tracks, all the songs, all the staging, and be ready to go on at a moment's notice. Everybody cannot do that. You will hear a lot of the giants in our industry say, hats off to my swings, because I simply could not do that job. And so it really taught me what I was made of, honestly, because my debut was March 29th, 2023. And I went on for the lead, Jim Conley, on a 2-show day before I had any understudy rehearsal.
Wow.
Yeah. I got the call at 9:30 that morning. Alex, who I love, was unfortunately sick. And they were like, are you ready? And I was like, I have to be, you calling me. So, that was my introduction into Broadway. And the work of this show, that opportunity really stretched me and what I thought I was capable of doing as an actor. And so now to get the opportunity to be in this show again and to do it 8 times a week and really live in this role has stretched me even beyond that, because after a while, once you settle into a show like this, you start to take in more of what's going on around you, and it brings more things for you to engage with that your character would react to that maybe you didn't pick up on the first time you did it, or just it's always constantly evolving and growing, and that's what I love about doing theater.
Well, what I found and what's kind of interesting about what you shared is that there's a lot going on stage in this show. And I found myself at times trying to see the different interactions that were taking place behind whoever's singing, on the side of whoever's singing. I really appreciated the staging. So I can only imagine when you talk about learning 4 different roles and all of the staging, there's a lot going on. But it also says a bit about this show in particular, which I want to get into now, is, there's a story being told here. And without giving everything away, it's a particular story that is actually based on a true story, right? And oftentimes a lot of shows that we see taking on Broadway, having a big musical production like this, they're not always based on truth. And so there's a lot that people can glean from. How did that resonate with you in terms of being a part of telling this moment in history?
I feel a weight of responsibility in telling this story because it is still so relevant today. Of course, first and foremost, it is a story about a great miscarriage of justice to Leo Frank, who was a Jewish man who was wrongfully convicted of the murder of Mary Fagan in 1913. And we are talking about anti-Semitism and the intersectionality of anti-Semitism and racism, and how all of those things play out within the show. And for me in particular, to take on the role of what I assume is probably one of my ancestors at some point way back in my lineage, and to step into those shoes, it's hard, but I feel like I honor them when I show up and tell that story through their lens.
Yeah.
Because I would not be able to do what I do today had they not done what they did then.
Yeah.
And so it's very important for me to be a part of this and to tell this story, and to also create a life for this character, because a lot of the characters were real people. My character and Oluchi's characters, not necessarily, they are modeled after, servants of the governor and the house, but our characters aren't necessarily real people. So we have to create stories for ourselves to keep us engaged with the world going on around us, based on historical accuracy and what the story is about. And so I always encourage people, when you come see the show, just like you said, there is a lot going on. And Michael Arden has done a wonderful job of giving all of us the space to really create a world, so that even though your focus may be here, we have our thoughts and our reactions to what's going on around us as well. So for Black people in particular, if you ever just shift your focus to us, you will see and identify with the experience, because we are playing out how you would probably feel and react in that moment, even though the focus may need to be somewhere else.
Yeah. No, I think you said it so clairvoyantly, and it's exactly what my experience was, because I gravitate naturally to like, what are Black folks doing on stage? And so the fact that it was present for me, I was like, oh, it's giving me a direct reflection of the various experiences that could have been happening at that time, right? And you know, this is a story where we see, I mean, when we're talking about a grave injustice, we're also talking about like how relevant it is today, which is like the saddest thing. But what struck me, because I was conflicted watching it, and I was like, do I clap to this, right? And so I was experiencing that, which I'm sure, I mean, I felt it in the audience, it was palpable, right? And a part of it is, of course, the story isn't one of those stories that's like of triumph and, you know, like sure, tragedy, but then triumph, which we see so much in storytelling. And so when you think about when y'all are bowing and you're done and the audience has experienced everything that you've just poured out on that stage, what are some of those reflections that kind of sit with you in terms of maybe how this story is striking different things for different audience members? Is there something that when you're done, you kind of walk away and go, man, I wonder, did they get it? Did we do our thing? What kind of things resonate with you then?
It is exactly that. I always hope that we did our job to just change some minds, to open up some eyes to how, you know, American culture and society is so singular and about me and protecting myself and doing what's best for me, that we forget about the people around us and how we have to create community and be supportive of each other. And the moment we start to over-identify with race, sex, religious affiliation, it just isolates us. And the moment something starts to happen to another person, if you continue to isolate yourself, I'm a firm believer that it's only a matter of time before it can happen to you as well. And if we don't band together and support each other for the greater good and making sure that we don't cause harm to anyone, whether they be Jewish, Black, Christian, Muslim, LGBTQIA, what have you. We should just want the best for each other and want to support each other. And I think that is the message of this show, primarily through the lens of a Jewish couple and the world that they're living in with, you know, white Georgians, African American Georgians, and how all of those different things kind of interplay. And it's such a nuanced way of exploring that, but you can apply those principles to every aspect of American culture and society.
Well, I mean, you say it beautifully, and there's something special about this story hitting stages in this time we're in. I think there's so many reflections that I had based on not only your portrayal of this character, but I think you said it right. It is the entire story But I will say, y'all brought a breath of fresh air, so I appreciate that, right? I appreciate the acknowledgement in your role and Oluchi, so I'll be able to talk with her about that. But of course, I thank you so much again for joining me. This was such a pleasure to sit here and get to know you a little bit more, Prentiss, and also share who you are with the audience. Of course, I got to give you time though, because people may be wanting to follow you and figure out how they stay tuned to what you might be doing next. Go ahead and look right there in the camera. Let them know how they stay connected.
You can follow me primarily on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Prentiss Mouton. There's a period between the Prentiss and the E, just to separate those two things. Anything that you need to know about me or any upcoming events, you will find there.
Oh, thanks so much again. And kudos to you. Great job in the show. I love being able to see a show before I have somebody join me here in the Black Media Matter studio. So I appreciate you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Wow, y'all know when we get to start the week off with this kind of inspiration, we gotta have it continue, because up next we got Oluchi Nwaokorie joining us, and she is going to be sharing her perspective of her character Angela in The Parade. You definitely don't want to miss this, y'all. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
In Seattle, it's more than just coffee. It's community. At the station, we brew more than just your favorite cup. We brew connection. From Beacon Hill to Columbia City, we're a space for artists, activists, and everyone in between. A place to gather, create, and simply be. Whether you need a quiet place to work, a lively spot to meet friends, or just a moment to unwind, find your place at the station. More than coffee, it's home. Visit us in Beacon Hill or Columbia City. The Station, where community happens.
Getting the scholarship really changed the conversation. It went from, I can do school in my free time and make it work, to I could only focus on school and I could be the best I can be every single day. I can soak up everything. I can read before class and make sure I'm not just learning enough to pass a test. Like, I could really pour all my time into school. That's what having a Seattle College Foundation scholarship did for me.
Ready to be intentional with your spending? Whether you're gifting it or using it for yourself, the Buy Black card allows you to shop at many different Black-owned businesses across the greater Seattle area, like Love a Latte, Dramer Ice Cream, Motis Beauty Supply, Pizza by Ruffin, The Spa House by Queen Care, and so many more. You can see the full list of participating businesses when you sign up for your Buy Black card at intentionalist.com. And thanks to our friends at BECU, you'll save 20% when you load your card. Spend like it matters with the Buy Black card.
Welcome back, y'all, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Joining me right now is Oluchi. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's so great to have you here today, and thanks again for taking some time.
Yeah.
Well, I was just saying to Prentiss, I'd love to start in the beginning. What was that spark for you that, kind of said, wait a minute, this is something I'm loving to do? Tell us about those beginnings.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a performer at heart. Like, ever since I was little, there's like a picture of me at 3 years old with a piano and a microphone, and I feel like that was my canon event. But I grew up singing in church in the choir, and I played viola for 8 years. I've always been very musical, and I had 2 older siblings that did theater, and I'm the youngest of 4. Mm-hmm. And I had the younger sibling syndrome of I don't want to do what my older siblings are known for. I want to make my own wave. But yeah, they started doing theater, and I've always secretly loved it from afar. But it took me until 8th grade to be in a production, and the first show that I ever did was Once on This Island Junior. And it was around the time that our director, Michael Arden, was doing the revival on Broadway. And so seeing that representation, and also being in a show that highlighted so much of my lived experience, it really empowered me to find a career in musical theater. So I decided to study it and pursue it, and I went to school at the University of Michigan. I'll be graduating in 2 weeks.
Yay!
But yeah, that's kind of how I fell into theater, and I got the bug, and I'll never go back.
I know that's right. It's interesting because people have recently been like, you need to get back into acting. And I really landed in this media work in a way that was we need to tell our stories. We need to have a space to tell our stories. So I love hearing that because you just reminded me of like, yes, that journey of joy that you find on stage. It's really special. So congratulations to you. Almost about to graduate. Well, this is also really huge then because you're already doing the work. Tell us what it felt like to land this role of Angela in Parade.
Oh, I am so grateful. I found out my senior year, the semester before my last, I got the call from my agent that I booked it. And I remember like telling my friends and like us having the biggest celebration in the middle of the street because I was like finally getting the opportunity to do what I wanted to do on such a large scale with such a renowned show. And like that feeling, I don't know if it'll ever be topped. Hopefully I'll continue to like do other things and more projects, but like it was just so assuring that like I made the right choice. I'm doing what I love to be doing and what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah. You know, and it's interesting because your character as Angela in Parade comes with this like burst of energy while y'all are preparing and stuff for the celebration and everything. There's something really special about you and Riley, you know, played by Prentiss, the two of you kind of working together. Tell us a little bit about that synergy y'all experience on stage.
Well, yes, it goes outside of stage. We're really good friends off stage too, which really helps. But I remember one of the conversations we had like with our director early on about our relationship and like deciding how we want to like portray these characters. And I remember like for our song in specific, we were explaining what the vibe is like and we were like, I think it has to be a key, like it's the first time that they're by themselves and that they're not perceived by like the white audience or the white actors on the stage.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like let's enjoy ourselves, let's let's communicate person to person. And I think that plays out in the rest of the show and all of our interactions. We like try to make sure that we're real people to each other and that we're actually connecting and like interacting.
Yeah.
And I think it helps that we get along like off stage, but yeah.
Well, I'll say that the energy is felt by the audience. I definitely felt it. And as I was just saying to him, you know, look, it was a breath of fresh air. I mean, y'all come in and you're telling the real. So there's a level of not only probably responsibility you feel, but also something that brings in a refreshing nature. I think for the entire audience, doesn't matter who they are. Tell us how you kind of see that in terms of the content of your song is so permeating. It was so permeating for me as an audience member. How do you see that big moment? Because it's a pretty huge moment in the show.
Well, as Prentiss was talking about earlier, it is playing characters that aren't like based off of real people can sometimes be daunting, but I've found a lot of empowerment in the fact that we as like our Black characters are one of the few that actually get to like be joyous and be lively and be bubbly on stage, especially in like 1913 South. We see Minnie and we see Newt and we see the way that they're treated in society. And so it was a goal of mine from the beginning to be as big as possible in that moment. And also like in moments when we're on the sides and like in the background maybe, like making sure that our presence, like if you're watching us, our presence is there. We're real people and we have real thoughts. And yeah, I think that like that was a clear goal of mine from the beginning, and I'm glad that it's coming across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% it is. And even the subtleties that you have to do when the white characters join you in that moment. And you're like, okay, yep, button back up and I'll do my job here and loosen it back up. And it was so great to see that juxtaposition of the characters, but also a real reflection of, you know, what so many of us have seen in, you know, so many different types of depictions of this time, right? We're talking about an era where we still have, you know, domestic servants that are primarily Black, you know, in the South, even after the fall of the Confederacy. And this is all around that time, and it talks about it in such a clear way. But also this story in and of itself has a resonating nature to it that, you know, is gonna hit audiences in different ways. It is not a happy story.
Yeah.
So when you think about this being one of your first stories to tell, how did that sit with you just in terms of the way that this true story unfolds?
Yeah, what a good question. I Sorry, would you mind asking one more time?
No, it's a certain type of story. It's not happy,
Yeah.
right? Like it doesn't leave you feeling like yay,
Yeah.
which
real.
so many stories do. I mean, this is not that typical type of story.
Yeah.
And so this being like, oh my gosh, I got this call, I'm gonna be doing this story. Sometimes there's like a energy that we carry, even if you're carrying a character that may either sit with you after, before, during the run.
Yeah.
But the audience kind of walking away and go, man, they played it well, but also, whoa,
Yeah.
this is like a bit different. Have you experienced that with the audiences since y'all have been on tour?
Yeah, well, the audience's responses have been like different city to city. Like we just came from Atlanta, and you can tell that everyone, like, it was a story that people knew, or like at least the references were familiar. And so the audience response was different in that way, like as opposed to like being in the North in Minneapolis or like in Seattle, even here. So I think the heaviness of the story is like hard for audiences and hard, like even as an actor, to interact with every night. But the topics and the themes and like the way that the show holds up a mirror to society and like what we're dealing with right now, I think prevails. And I think that's the reason I do it every night, and that's the reason that audiences come back and they love it and they resonate so much with it, is because it's unfortunately really prevalent to our times and like what we're going through at the moment.
Well, that's why I gotta give you kudos.
Yeah.
I gotta give you kudos, girl, because like honestly, it's so refreshing when you and Riley, Angela and Riley,
Yeah.
come on. It's refreshing, but also I think I felt this sigh in the audience of like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, this part of that time, this perspective of that time is also included in this,
Yeah.
which I think the audience is just like yearning for the
Yeah,
entire
and the writers
time.
make you wait for it too.
Yeah,
They make you wait
yeah.
till Act 2, which,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it says something too about, I think, taking the audience on a journey. And so you do that because y'all bring in the joy. Y'all bring in like, okay, yeah, the realness. One of the things that I really found so striking, so striking to me, was that the character, the man playing Leo Frank, is imprisoned, and during the intermission, he stays on the stage in his prison. I was so moved by that. I thought it was such a unique way of keeping us engaged, and while people are grabbing wine and
while
all
everyone
these
else
things,
gets to rest,
and it's like it's real because like the world is going on around this person. It just made me think of anyone imprisoned. When you think about like, okay, man, you know, Black girls seeing you on stage, I always love to ask this question about, you were sparked by something. You had some older siblings. You saw some shows. Right? How does that resonate with you in terms of like, man, now I'm an example for them?
I could just cry about it. I've also done a bit of like educating and like working with high schoolers and like getting to speak to them and like share as much wisdom as I have at the moment with them. And that was always really special to me because I mean, it was like 4 years ago when I was in their seats asking like the touring artists, how do I get here? Like, what do I do? And so it's always special, like when the Black girls specifically come up to me like, hey, can I get your Instagram? Like, hey, like, how did you do this? And I'm always like, it's so, if you want to do it, it's yours. You can, like, there's space for you. And I kind of mentioned earlier, like, Once on This Island and what that show did for me. But it's so true. Like, if it had not been that show, that was my first show with, like, a cast full of Black creatives. And, like, I don't know if I would have felt like I had a space in it had it not been that show. And like even being in this role where Courtney Carr, like the woman that played it before me, she was like involved in Once on This Island, like, and like that whole lineage of it, I feel very tied to the women that came before me, and I hope that as they open doors for me, that I can continue to open doors for the other girls that want to do it.
Yeah, well, you're doing it. You're doing it. It's such a beautiful time to be able to celebrate artistry. I think a lot of folks, we always, for me, while I do a lot of it for work, reviewing shows and being able to connect with folks like yourself, there's something so special about being able to see a different thing it's a little bit of escapism, right?
Yeah.
We get it with TV, and of course all these things are on our phone, but there's something really energetic about live performance because there's this, you know, constant give and take of energy that's happening. You know, you need to hear from the audience, like, right? We should be responding like, oh no, right? And so I heard y'all talking earlier about like, man, you know, different audiences, some people don't do that. They don't know they can, but I love when you get to feel us and we get to feel you. So thank you for pouring yourself out on that stage. It was beautiful to see the joy. I definitely received it. So thank you for pouring out that way. Of course, if folks are trying to continue to connect with you and they want to be somebody who can tap in with your journey as you move on, please look right there in that camera. Let them know how they stay connected.
Yes, well, you can follow me on Instagram at Oluchi Nwaokorie, OLUCHI NWAOKORIE. And yeah, I will post everything on there. Also, if you're on TikTok, you can look me up there at Luchilogs, LUCHILOGS.
Oh, right on. Thank you so much, Oluchi. Great work. And it was so great to be with you today and for you joining me in here. I'm very honored.
Yes,
Wow.
thank you.
Y'all, I'm telling you, these two characters definitely put on a show in Parade at Fifth Avenue Theater. You want to make sure you are getting your tickets. I'll be wrapping all of this information and joy up right after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
When I had my first child, I didn't really understand the impact of my using until I gave birth to him.
I worked in weapons department in the Navy. That's a work hard, play hard kind of place. It very much became apparent that I had a substance use disorder.
Nobody asked me if I was okay. It was just medications that were thrown at me for so many years.
I had some dental work done, and pain pills were introduced. It flipped a switch that I didn't see or know or understand.
The first time I recovered, my dad was the person, the rock. When he died, I had a severe relapse. It was one of the darkest times in my life because I had a taste of what recovery could feel like. A lot of shame came in.
And the grief about it was so huge that like I would have to drink to deal with what it felt like to be in my body.
I had lost the military career. I didn't have a place to stay. I was out of work. Seemingly overnight, I became a vehicle resident.
And that continued to kind of escalate my use, is being afraid to ask for help.
I tried multiple times to show up and be a parent to those kids, but I couldn't do the minimum. In my mind, they were safer where they were than they were with me.
It does. It takes a village of support. It takes a village of resources.
Getting all the things that kind of made me whole again happened because of the stabilization.
There is no part of my sobriety that would be possible if it wouldn't have been with help from others.
Every one of those people believed in my ability to live differently.
Each one of those people along my journey has contributed to my success.
Don't count us out.
More people recover with support.
Learn how you can help someone's recovery at supportaddictionrecovery.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Huge shout out to my guests today in the building, Prentiss and Oluchi, both sharing not only their acting journeys and why theater was so important for them, but also how these two characters of Riley and Angela in Parade shape up to also shine a light on a perspective that seems hidden throughout the beginning of the show, but then comes through in full blast in that second act. This is a show that is really thought-provoking, y'all. So if you're looking forward to experiencing this truth that is put together in such a beautiful way on stage with this phenomenal cast of characters doing amazing things on stage all at the same time, I encourage you to make sure you go to Fifth Avenue Theater and get your tickets today. Huge shout out to them for bringing this show to the Seattle greater metro area. You know, I'm always saying I'm inspired by what we have with our venues. If you're not somebody who's used to going to plays or musicals, try them out. Bring bring your family with you. It is such a great experience to see people giving their all on that stage while you get to sit there and enjoy it, but be a part of it. That's what's so special about theater. And y'all know I could go on and on because you know how much I love it. But I'm encouraging y'all to get your tickets today to Parade while it is still here with us. I'm so grateful I got to see it, and I'm definitely grateful for the inspiration that Prentiss and Oluchi dropped here on the Day with Trae today. Y'all know I'm gonna encourage y'all to also be inspired. If you got that something in you, you think you need to get on stages, it's never too late. Don't matter how old or young you are, this is an art form that is always there to bring your brilliance into it. So I encourage you to be inspired, y'all, because you too can be a part of the solution. Thanks so much for watching today. You know I'll be back with y'all tomorrow. Until then, at 11 a.m., y'all. Peace.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.